Everyone knows the most annoying chair in the world. You sit down, lean back, and suddenly one leg hovers just a few millimeters above the floor. Every tiny movement becomes an irritating click. Click, click. We've all done the same thing next. Fold a napkin, slide it under the short leg. Problem solved, at least until the napkin falls out. But here's the strange part. That problem only exists because the chair has 4 legs. A 3-legged chair can never wobble. So why don't we just make every chair with 3 legs? If 3 is mathematically more stable, why did almost the entire world settle on 4? Were furniture makers simply making the wrong decision for centuries? It sounds like one of those everyday absurdities hiding in plain sight. At first, the answer seems obvious. 4 legs must be better because, well, look around. Schools, restaurants, offices, dining rooms, cafes. 4 legs everywhere. Billions of chairs can't all be based on a mistake. But then you remember every wobbly cafe table you've ever touched. And suddenly, you're not so sure. Let's start with the mathematics. Imagine placing any 3 points on a surface. Connect them, and they always form a plane. It doesn't matter whether the floor is perfectly smooth or covered with tiny bumps. 3 points always touch at the same time. That's exactly why photographers use tripods. A camera resting on 3 legs doesn't rock back and forth while you're trying to take a picture. Even on uneven ground, all 3 feet stay planted because 3 points always define a single plane. Physics stack exchange. Now add a 4th leg. You've accidentally created a new problem. Unless every leg is exactly the same length and the floor is perfectly flat, one of those legs can end up hanging just slightly above the ground. That's the wobble. Ironically, adding another point of support can make an object feel less stable. So mathematically, 3 wins. Case closed? Not even close. Because stability isn't the only thing engineers care about. Imagine replacing your dining chair with a simple 3-legged stool. It sits perfectly still. No wobbling at all. Now lean far to one side to grab something off the table. Suddenly, it feels nervous. That's because engineers think about a different kind of stability. The first question is whether all the legs stay on the ground. The second is whether the entire chair tips over. Those are completely different problems. A 3-legged chair always keeps every foot in contact with the floor. But the area enclosed by those 3 legs, called the support polygon, is usually much smaller than the one created by 4 legs spread out to the corners. As long as your body's center of mass stays inside that area, you're safe. Move beyond it, and gravity takes over. Physics stack exchange. With 4 widely spaced legs, that safe zone becomes much larger. In other words, a 4-legged chair is more likely to wobble, but much less likely to fall over. Already, that sounds like a pretty reasonable trade-off. Except people make the problem even messier. Humans almost never sit perfectly still. We lean back, we twist sideways, we reach for bags. Children swing on chairs. Some people balance on the back 2 legs despite every teacher on earth telling them not to. Chairs aren't supporting statues. They're supporting unpredictable humans. Designers know people won't behave perfectly, so they build furniture that forgives imperfect behavior. A wider support area gives us more room for mistakes before disaster strikes. Then there's comfort. Think about where chair legs actually go. Usually they're pushed toward the corners. That leaves plenty of space for your feet underneath. With only 3 legs, one often ends up exactly where somebody wants to place their legs or feet. Designers can work around that, but it limits the shape of the chair and where people naturally want to sit. 4 legs create a balanced, symmetrical layout that works comfortably from almost every direction. And that symmetry turns out to be useful somewhere else too. Manufacturing. If you've ever assembled flat-pack furniture, you've probably noticed something. Many pieces come in matching pairs. 2 identical front legs. 2 identical back legs. Repeated parts are cheaper to manufacture, easier to replace, simpler to package, and faster to assemble. For centuries, furniture makers learned that repeating identical components reduced both cost and labor. 4 legs fit neatly into that system. 3 often require more specialized designs. Then there are the materials themselves. Long before modern plastics and steel tubing, most chairs were made from wood. Wood is incredibly strong in some directions and surprisingly weak in others. Adding a fourth leg spreads the load through more joints and supports, reducing the stress each connection has to carry over years of use. And furniture lives a hard life. People drag it across floors, lean back on it, stand on it, drop it. Children climb over it. Extra support often meant a chair that survived for decades instead of years. History reinforced the habit. Once societies settle on a design, changing it becomes surprisingly difficult. Think about the keyboard in front of you, or the side of the road your country drives on. Sometimes a system survives not because it's perfect, but because everyone has already built their lives around it. Chairs are no different. When people picture a chair, they picture 4 legs. Restaurants design storage around 4-legged chairs. Factories build machinery around familiar designs. Customers instinctively trust what looks familiar. Changing billions of expectations is far harder than changing a blueprint. That doesn't mean 3-legged chairs disappeared. Far from it. Milking stools have famously used 3 legs for centuries. Workshop stools often do the same. Camping stools love 3 legs because uneven ground is exactly where they shine. Whenever guaranteed contact with rough terrain matters most, 3 legs become the obvious choice. Wikipedia. So designers aren't choosing between a good design and a bad one. They're choosing between different priorities. 3 legs solve the wobble. 4 legs reduce tipping. Neither design is universally better. They're simply optimized for different jobs. There's even one final lesson hiding inside that annoying rocking chair. When your restaurant chair wobbles, it's tempting to blame the chair. But often the real culprit isn't the furniture at all. Floors are almost never perfectly flat. Concrete settles. Wood expands and contracts. Tiles shift by tiny fractions of a millimeter. Our eyes can't see those imperfections. A rigid 4-legged chair exposes them instantly. In a strange way, the wobble is evidence that the world itself isn't perfectly level. The 3-legged chair simply hides that reality better. So the question was never, why don't we use the mathematically superior design? The real question is, superior at what? Perfect contact with the ground? 3 legs win. Resisting awkward movements? 4 usually win. Comfort, manufacturing, durability, cost, tradition? Those all point in different directions. What looked like a simple geometry problem turns out to be a balancing act between mathematics, engineering, materials, economics, and the wonderfully unpredictable way humans actually use everyday objects. So the next time a restaurant chair rocks beneath you, remember that you're experiencing the downside of a design chosen for countless other advantages. It sounds absurd that the less mathematically stable chair became the world's favorite, until you realize it wasn't mathematics that made the decision. It was people.